Joe Budden Disses Mal.
And turned him into a swimming instructor. Dude, go to bed. She's not fucking you.
That's right. On a recent episode of the Joe Budden podcast, Joe Budden would clown Mal in a reference to an old moment on the podcast. They were talking about, I guess, eating some edibles, and apparently Mal got so high that he wanted to jump in the Hudson River. And it even was a reference to a cartoon done on the Joe Budden network, because in that cartoon, they outlined this incident and this moment. And I think it was a shot. Like, a lot of people might say, oh, they were just joking, Daddy. This was not a big deal. But no, you got to read the undertones of what's going on. You got to see why it was a shot. And I'm going to break it down. So, like I said, they were talking about this time. They were in Joe's old house or something like that. Apparently, Mal took an edible. And in taking that edible, he was so mentally impaired that he wanted to jump in some large body of water. But here's the kicker. Joe also said that Mal decided that he was a swimming instructor, and he was apparently coaching one of the young ladies, one of those young harlots that were at the compound, and he was trying to coach her so he could smash. And Joe even took more shots by saying, he smashed, and, Mal was trying desperately to get laid, but he couldn't pull it off. Why is this a big deal? Well, I think this story that Joe is telling is a way of Joe Budden big broing Mal. Ever since Mal and Rory have left the show, Joe Budden has sought to deconstruct both of their character, calling Rory a liar, calling Mal a basketball husband. And this story right here, even if Joe doesn't know it, and maybe if he does, makes Mal look uncool. And who loves to look cool? Mal. That's right, Mal loves to look cool. And by recounting this story in such a way that makes Joe look like the 10 and make him look like the 8, this is disrespect. I'm sorry. And they even beeped his name out of the podcast, but there's easy ways to tell that it was about Mal, because Joe told this same exact story on a former episode of the podcast and even made a cartoon about it. So there's no way that anyone can say, hey, this is just joking, this is just banter. No, these are shots. If Joe really doesn't want any type of static with Rory and Mal, why not cut that out the pod? Why leave it in there? This is a shot. It's a good shot. It's a funny shot. But it's just something that I think we need to highlight. Now, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you believe this is a lot or this is nothing? Is this a reach? I don't think it's a reach, because it's pretty obvious that Joe was talking about Mal. And we have to highlight it, because that's one of the things I do on my channel. I highlight all transgressions because this needs to be documented. The war in Pod Rack needs to be documented. But I also wanted to get to one last thing before I wrapped up. Apparently, Joe Budden's missus was dissing me. She was on Twitter. I was on Twitter a couple days ago. June 17th. I saw it. And here's what she said. She said, if all you do is run your mouth negatively about one specific grown-ass man's every move and successful endeavor to make money, I hope you wish that same man a happy Father's Day yesterday. And then somebody responded saying, the pod needs to send Drake a gift then. Yeah, that's true, that pod. I would say Drake has generated minimum of $1 million for Joe. Minimum. And another $1 million from Rory and Mal. Joe has talked about other people so much that he's actually been able to monetize other people's likenesses, other people's names. Let me not even talk about what's going on that Patreon. But I'm not going to talk about it. Let's not wake it up. And his girl would respond and say, his job is to speak about all topics and entertainers as he does. Now others, they make content about his already made content to make money. It's kind of like when the weirdos steal the OnlyFans girlie's content, repackage and resell it, even though she's already selling it. I'm sorry, sweetheart. You're not the best at knowing what I do. You don't know. She didn't say my name. She may be talking about other people, but I mean, it's about me, man. Let's not talk around it. It's about me. And I gotta keep it real. All I asked, I'm not gonna take no shots. All I ask is that next time there's a Pods Giving, you stay home. You messed up the flow, girl. People were talking around you. Fun could not be had. You're messing up the vibes of the show. Don't talk to me about content. And please, don't compare me to people on OnlyFans reposting actual content and not adding any value. That's a whole different thing. You need to stop. I'm not reposting no content. I'm not reposting no illicit content. I'm not reposting anybody getting naked and acting like it's my own or something like that. It's a big old reach. I know you got to stand up for Joe. You got to look out for Joe, but just leave me alone. I'm highly respectful. Do you see what these other platforms do to other podcasters? Do you see the stuff that Andrew Schultz gets done to him? One of these days, you guys are going to make me show you how nasty I can make it if I really chose to. If I really chose to do a point and shoot style video where I just boom it on people. The guys in Jersey can't even take this mild criticisms I send their way. Imagine if I get in my bag, like point and shoot. Great videos, by the way. Cool with Adam. But man, point and shoot is... Sometimes I'll be watching point and shoot. That dude is like Da Vinci, man. I'll be watching the way he get down. I'm like, man, if I ever did something like that to Joe and his podcast co-host, oh, they want to murder my whole family. They call me sensitive. Joe calls me sensitive. But I will say this. Most creators are sensitive. Joe's a very sensitive fellow. You don't think I've been noticing that? Every time I say Charlemagne does bigger numbers than Joe, I get a rise out of him. And that comes from a sensitive man, a sensitive, insecure man who is so sensitive and insecure that now he reframes his sensitivities and insecurities by saying he's not sensitive and insecure. By creating spaces where he calls the shots. Now, there's nothing wrong with being sensitive and insecure. I would say those are the characteristics that make you a good creator. Because if you're not sensitive or insecure, you may not make good content because you're not reactive. You need to feel things in content. And to you, remember this. Don't tell me about what content is. You haven't displayed a creative bone yet. You haven't put anything forward. You haven't made any content. I saw you on the podcast. It was weak. Could have been a lot better. You dragged the show down. A lot of the girls like pretending that they loved your presence on the show, but we all know how those girls are. The girls from the Twitter spaces acting like they cool with you. They just want to talk to Joe, though. I suggest you go to those Twitter spaces. A lot be going on, if you ask me. A lot of crushing and bushing.
But no, I'm not going to Magic City.
So you are allowed to go if you want.
I'm allowed to do whatever I want. Thank you.
I'm just saying, ain't nothing more deadlier than a creator with time. And I got it. Let me know what you think about Mal being dissed by Joe Budden. And let me know what you think about Joe's missus dissing me. Oh, as the podcast world turns. Follow me on Instagram, The Stop TV. Follow me on Twitter, The Stop TV. This is Danny from The Stop. Peace.